Good afternoon. Welcome to our second session today. Actually, our last one we're doing all by ourselves for this week. We've got three great speakers about to come up and a panel at the end. So just to introduce you to what we're talking about, we're looking at underestimating or overestimating influencer marketing and whether this is a gambling game and the best ways to make sure that we're doing very well in it. We have Tika from Skyscanner. Along with Emily and Lucy, who are two fantastic bloggers who have just done a big project with them, which I'm sure Tika's going to let you know about soon. Tika's going to do a great presentation for you, and then after that we're going to do about 15 or 20 minutes Q&A, as much time as we've got to go through as many questions as we can. Just to let you know, there's a WTM app, which I think most of you have on your mobiles, and you can send questions in through that. I'll get them all on a screen at the end, and we'll try and go through as many of those as we can. I have said in the past to tweet them in as well, but we're not getting the best reception in this room, so get them through the app or put your hand up when we get to it, and we'll come to you. So I'd just like to introduce you to Tika now, who's going to talk from Skyscanner.
Thank you, Michael. And yes, it's Tika from Skyscanner. So hi guys, I'm Tika. I'm originally from Indonesia, so excuse my English if I have any mistakes in any words I use. So I'm here today to represent Skyscanner and share with you guys how we work with influencers in general, so bloggers, YouTubers, Instagrammers, anybody basically who has a social influence to their audience. And I am here today with two of our bloggers who recently worked with us on a project traveling to Indonesia, and they went through the whole process of the Skyscanner onboarding, which is like a 2-day workshop before we got into the whole trip and doing all the content creation and distribution. So I'll give the floor to them, and they could introduce themselves quickly.
Okay, my name's Emily. I'm a co-founder of A Long Dusty Roads, a travel blog born in Mexico in 2014 in the back of a cramped Collectivo. If you told me back then that right now I'd be speaking alongside Skyscanner as an influencer, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have believed you. However, my journey since then as a blogger has been almost as exciting as every adventure I've had since then. But I really haven't been travel blogging for that long. In fact, just 2.5 years ago, you would have found me in an emergency department with countless patients, keeping me busy, not editing photos and fretting over Facebook. I never intended to leave medicine. In fact, I've taken time out before to travel, to live and work in different countries. I, like probably a huge number of you, am blessed, or cursed, as my father would say, with an insatiable thirst to travel for adventure, to see the new and the different. But that first trip as A Long Dusty Roads changed things. Myself and my partner Andrew, we wanted to create something that captured that spirit, to build a beautiful site with a clear, authentic voice, a voice that promoted independent, considerate and adventurous travel. Through curated content, a passion for photography and multiple collaborations with brands, we're slowly becoming a growing influencer in the millennial market. And after 2 years in Latin America, we're told a go-to blog for people planning trips to that region. Since 2014, we've come a long way, but like a lot of bloggers, we've got a lot to learn, to improve and to master. However, I'm sitting here and travel is my job, and it's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Lucy. I'm a French travel blogger, and I also apologize for my English if I make any mistakes, because I'm French. I've been blogging for almost 6 years on a blog called Voyage et Vagabondage. It used to be the blog of an expat in London, but it has slowly evolved with me. It's now mainly focusing on solo women travel, independent and long-term travel, and adventure travel. So I've been an expat in 3 countries. I then set off on a round-the-world trip solo for 15 months, and I've now been a full-time digital nomad for the past 3 years. I now see traveling as a slow experience, slow travel and local experience. That's why I decided to travel one country at a time, so I stay 1 year in one country. I was in Argentina for the past year, learning Spanish and discovering more about the culture. And in 2017, I'll be in Japan doing the same thing and hopefully learning Japanese. My first passions were languages, traveling and writing, but I'm also now very interested in photography and Pinterest. So I've built one of the biggest French travel blog accounts on Pinterest. And I've also done a conference about Pinterest for beginners at the French Travel Blogging Conference this year. Through my blog, I really want to show to people that it's possible to travel no matter what, whether you are a solo traveler, whether you don't have a budget, or whether you have health issues, all things I have been challenged with as well. So that's why I really want to show on my blog. Over the past 6 years, I've also worked with different brands, whether they are Skyscanner or Sterling International, iAmbassador, trying to build the best content. So please do get in touch if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. So that's from them. So I'm Tika Larasati. I'm from Skyscanner, and I am the influencer marketing manager and working globally across different continents, offices around the world. So today's topic is influencer marketing, a gamble. A lot of people try to sort of think like, how do you measure things? Like, how much do you pay? What are the results we're going to get? Like, you know, there's a lot of unknown uncertainty when you're working with influencers. So, like, are we actually gambling? Like, are brands gambling our money? Are influencers themselves gambling their time as well, working with brands? So, normally, this session is something that I give to fellow industry, but I think after a few events with bloggers, turns out that it's actually quite interesting for bloggers as well, influencers in general. So I hope that this is going to be useful for you. So let's get into the topic. Yay, that's me. I'm a little bit narcissistic. So that's Rand Fishkin. So who here knows Rand Fishkin? Please raise your hand. Yeah, so quite a few people. So he's like an SEO guru, and I love him so much. So one of his quotes is, don't build links, build relationships. So now we know that Google algorithm has two sides of it. You've got the whole machine side of things, and you've got the human side of things. And that's where influencer marketing actually comes in, onto the human side of the Google algorithm. So when we're talking about relationships, do we actually gamble with relationships that we have with other people? With your boyfriends, husbands, and all that stuff? It's a good question, right? So we're going to take you through what we do at Skyscanner to actually prove our hypothesis, whether or not it is a gamble. What is gamble? Is anybody a gambler? Okay, don't raise your hands. Silly question. Keep it to yourselves. So I just Googled this and just copy-pasted it. So gamble is an act of playing games of chance for money or a risky action undertaken with the hope of success. The fact is, success in money, revenue, is what all businesses want to achieve. And in business, there's always risks. We all know that. And this also applies in influencer marketing and what we do with influencers. There's always risks. So if there's risks, why do we actually work with influencers? It's not because it's the latest marketing trend. You could see the past 5 years, influencer marketing, the topic of influencer marketing on Google has gone up like dramatically. In less than 1 second, you get about like 11 million search results when you put in influencer marketing. It just goes on and on. Everybody's talking about it at the moment. It's like the trending hot marketing channel. It's not because other companies are doing it and then, oh, let's do it, let's all become sheep. Nah, we're not doing it because other companies are doing it as well. It's not because it gives people like me the best job in the world. So having worked with influencers the past probably 4 years at Skyscanner, it has allowed me to travel the world and interact with so many people from different backgrounds and cultures and dive into different variety of like marketing activities, which is amazing, and getting to know them, becoming friends, it's the best thing ever. But no, it's not that. It's because data actually shows us that there is potential to have successful influencer marketing activities when it's done properly. So we should never assume that a massive social following or a monthly web traffic will guarantee a successful collaboration. I know that a lot of bloggers or influencers hand us their media kit, and the first thing you're going to see is how many number of followers they've got on social media or how many people come to their blogs. It's not the thing that we rely on the most. It's probably the thing that we probably rely on the least. Brands need to do their homework, and influencers need to do their homework as well, just as much. And the key to influencer marketing is actually to find the right influencer for the brand. So what kind of homework do brands usually do? There's tons of it. Believe me, it's not easy to find the right influencer to work with. And even having gone through like a lot of research, there's always, moments where we don't actually find the right person to work with. So we go through social media. We've got internal tools where we could sort of see who's actually talking about us, who's advocating about us, who's a loyal user, and all that stuff. We go through our referral traffic on Google Analytics. You could see how many people, certain advocates, influencers who talk about us are bringing to the traffic, and we could identify them quickly. Okay, Michael's telling me that it's already been 15 minutes. I talk a lot, I'm sorry. Trying to get 60 slides through. And then we also go through BuzzSumo to see like the type of content that you actually produce. How many people actually share it? Like, what are the type of content that actually go viral from what you have done so far as a blogger? There's so many things we do. We see the same things for YouTubers and Instagrammers as well, not just particularly bloggers. So what is the criteria of the right influencer? So this is just basically what we think from a Skyscanner perspective. You might agree or not agree, but the right influencer for a brand would be someone who has gotten good knowledge about the brand, somebody who's a user, who's an advocate, somebody who has strong authority in a relevant subject matter. So because Skyscanner is a travel brand, so therefore travel would be one of the interests that we would look in like an influencer. Somebody who has a loyal audience that fits into the brand's target audience. Somebody who has a skill in content creation, whether it's storytelling or taking photos or making videos. Somebody who has a sense of marketing, because we need people who can market our product as well. So by seeing how they can market themselves shows their capacity of a marketeer. Somebody who has a decent number of following and a good engagement rate. So if we look at like how many followers you actually have, we look at like what's the percentage of followers that actually engage with your posts. And someone that has a good personality, because this is really important. I think it's actually very fundamental. And the last one is somebody who has good knowledge of their own value. So you can't come to a brand and say, I really don't know how much you should pay me or how much you should charge. That's quite scary if you don't know what your value is. So once we actually identify these bloggers, what we do at Skyscanner is we invest a bit of time into these bloggers, and we do like what we call like an onboarding session. So it's a 2-day workshop. We've only started running it like the past year across several markets, and we're trying to test it. So it's like similar when you start to join a new company, and then you go through a whole onboarding process to understand about the company. Same thing with the influencers. So we take them through the things that they actually need to know to be able to work the best way possible, the most effective and efficient way possible with the brand. So it's a lot of stuff. You could ask these two girls. They were there in Bali for 2 days, and we went through 2 full days workshop from SEO to killer content to email marketing, social distribution, understanding the metrics we use in Skyscanner, and so many things. And then we ended that with a whole exercise where people get into groups and then eventually use everything they've learned into practice and come up with proposals and pitches. So it's quite intense, but also quite interesting, I hope. I'm going to show you a quick video. This is the one that we did in Singapore earlier this year. So if I could just ask somebody to play the video. It's 3 minutes. I hope it's not going to bore you.
It's day 2 of the Skyscanner event, and so far I'm really, really happy. I've gained a lot of new friends, and today I heard we are going out on a tour, so I'm really excited for that.
This is really good event for me. It's really, really nice, like a chance to make new friends and meet people from other countries, and it makes me more inspired.
Hi, I'm Jason from Malaysia. People call me Smashpot because I use that name for my blog and my Instagram and my YouTube as well. So I'm at Skyscanner event now, and I really think that this is a good event because now that I'm here, I get to meet a lot of different people and people from different countries, and exchange ideas and stuff.
Hello, I'm Mariska Prudence. I'm a travel blogger from Indonesia. This Skyscanner workshop event, I think, is a very good thing because bloggers from different countries can meet, and we can learn a lot about blogging, the business behind the blog, and also we also know a bit about Skyscanner.
Okay, so that was the event that we did in Singapore with, I think, around 23 bloggers from across Asia Pacific. So what is our main hypothesis? Why do we actually want to see the company use influencers as a strong marketing channel? If we work with influencers to promote Skyscanner, we will achieve a higher activation rate than other marketing channels. That was my personal hypothesis when I started influencer marketing at Skyscanner. And then throughout the past 2 years, we have done quite a bit to validate the effectiveness of influencer content creation and distribution in driving user activation on the site compared to the other marketing channels that we use. So, social media, paid ads, organic, direct, all these other traffic drivers to the website. So we've worked with quite a number of bloggers globally, probably hundreds of them, in small scale, medium scale, big scale projects, everything going from sponsored blog posts, video campaigns, Instagram collaborations, exclusive competitions, group trips, affiliate marketing, white label and widgets, and just so many other stuff. It's a long list. And then for every type of collaboration, we follow the same process. Every single marketing team in Skyscanner follow the same one process, which is the content workflow. So I've tweaked this a bit to sort of fit into what we're talking about for the external audience. But this is based on the internal content workflow that we actually use in the company. So know the audience type, which is the who, the audience needs. Know what content type you're going to do. Know the timing. When are you going to do this campaign? When is it going to go live? What distribution channels are we going to use? And what metrics are we using? What are we measuring? And the analysis, has it been a successful campaign or not? So these are basically the steps within the content workflow that we go through with most of the influencers that we work with. And I say most because sometimes we're not very disciplined and we sort of skip a few, just to be honest. So this is what we have internally that we follow, and that was just based on this content workflow, which actually makes everything super systematic. So, yeah. Oh, my face. Sorry, I got self-conscious. Got a really bad hair day. So influencer collaborations. There's so many. I'm just going to give you like the most recent ones. So with both Emily and Lucy and how many other bloggers were there? I think there was like 20 international, and then we worked with, I think, 5 local Indonesian bloggers as well. So it was around 25. And then we basically went to 3 different destinations in Indonesia. The first 2 days was a complete workshop and training. So we went through every single training material in terms of content marketing so that we can both align the vision between the bloggers and the brand. That's basically the trip. There's a video, but it's still in post-production, so it's not done yet. So that was parts of Flores and Bali and Yogyakarta. And then what happened after the trip was, I mean, there's all the social engagement, the live social posts and everything during the trip. But post-trip, then every single influencer was asked to create content pieces, but not just any content pieces. We had a specific goal with the content pieces that every sponsored post was going to drive people to come to Skyscanner to do a particular search for the Indonesian destination. So there is something that we are going to measure at the end, which is how many people actually were influenced by these bloggers to do a search to Indonesia on Skyscanner. So that was one. And then after the event in Singapore, we had different bloggers pitch their ideas, and we actually got one so far live. There's actually another one that's coming soon. It's going to be launching in January 2017. So this was London on a Budget. This was with 3 different bloggers that you saw in the video. So they went to London on a budget, and they did the whole itinerary, the whole experience, shared everything, and basically, yeah, the content's already live, and we are also measuring how many people actually did a search from Singapore to London. So another one was, it's not always about flight searches. We've got so many products at Skyscanner that we could customize every single type of campaign according to the right influencer we work with. And this is working with the blog abroad. So what we did was we did an app competition, and the main focus was to get people to understand how useful the app is, and what we tried to measure from here is how many people actually installed the app based on her influence. So now we're talking about like measuring things. We need to know what the metrics actually are. And to be able to measure these metrics, you need tracking. Tracking is seriously indispensable. You just cannot go out with trackings, from the simplest hashtag to, I don't know, a Google URL builder to anything else. So we have an internal tool to create our trackings. It's called the Colombo tracking. We've got a variety of trackings. Every single blogger that works with us is going to receive a tracking. And we also look at, the usual vanity metrics, because that supports our data. So everything on social media is also looked at. So, hashtags on Instagram, Twitter, reach, and all that stuff. And we see it from our internal tools, how we reach the audience on Skyscanner and outside Skyscanner, so what the bloggers actually brought into the whole social engagement as well. But what's most important here in this session is the importance of knowing the pirate metrics. Okay, I'm going to go through this quickly. I had a little tiny exercise. I think still do it. He's looking at me. Okay, so what I want you to do is, if you have internet connection, go onto your mobile phones now. If you have Instagram, does anybody have Instagram here? Okay, so if you go onto Instagram, you could go and check out my handle. You don't have to follow me. I'm not trying to get new followers, even though it's a cheat. You could do that as well. But yeah, try to go onto my personal handle and click the link in my bio. Have you done that? Okay, so once you've clicked the link, where do you go to? Can somebody tell me? What do you see after you click on the link in the bio? Great. So once you go into Skyscanner, can you search a flight from London to Jakarta? Okay. Well, okay, the whole point is the pirate metrics, the AARRR, the R metrics, is what we actually use at Skyscanner to base a lot of our works and measure success. So I've asked you guys to go to on my Instagram, click on the link on the bio, and then go on to Skyscanner and then do a search from London to Jakarta. What I've done there is to get you guys go through the whole acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and revenue metrics. So by asking you to go onto my Instagram and having you go to Skyscanner, I just acquired you. I acquired the traffic of you going to Skyscanner through my Instagram. Well, through this event, WTM London, and then my Instagram. And then by doing a search, I just activated you. You did something on the site. That's what activation is all about. Now, if you come back to Skyscanner between today and 7 days, then I would have retained you because you're coming back again after I told you to go onto Skyscanner. And if you come out of here and then tell people, oh, Tika from Skyscanner told us to do this ridiculous exercise about this, whatever, whatever, you just did a referral. You just spoke about Skyscanner to somebody else. And in the end, if eventually you convert and you do a flight search on Skyscanner, that's revenue. So that's the whole acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and revenue explained in less than 1 minute. But there's a lot more on Google, so you could actually Google it. So once we've got that, we get to the campaign results. So we've got all of our internal tools, and then we can sort of pull out, based on the trackings, and see the results of everything. So this is like acquisition and activation. You could actually see for each blogger how many sessions they brought in for a certain period of time, and how many people were actually activated if they actually brought people to the site and actually did something on the site. This is retention. Retention is also really important because the thing is that we don't want to rent your audience. We don't just want to work with you once and get your audience to come to Skyscanner once. We don't want you to be working with Skyscanner, talking about Skyscanner, and tomorrow your audience is going to be going to a competitor. So retaining your audience is as important as us retaining you as partners. And this is the app downloads. So we use AppsFlyer to sort of measure everything in terms of app installments. And from this, we could actually also track all the activation and retention activities as well, results. And then from there, this is the hard part, is to see, once you have the numbers, you know what works, and like the results of each of the blogger, you look at the content pieces. What content pieces actually show good results and what content pieces didn't? And then from there, you could actually see what works and what doesn't work. And it's a learning of best practices that you could use further on when you work with other people for almost the same type of campaigns, so you don't fall into the same mistakes anymore. Is there something to do with the call to actions, where you place the call to actions, or the anchor text, or the title, or God knows what? But you go through a whole list of content pieces, and then you sort of find a pattern of things that work and a pattern from the things that don't work. So content analysis is really important as well. It's time-consuming, but it's worth it. So validating the hypothesis now. So we pull all the numbers together, and then we see this beautiful graph of all the bloggers activating their traffic, their audience to Skyscanner, and then the retention from all of the bloggers, 7 days, 28 days, up to 6 months. And then we take the whole average of all these bloggers we worked with, and then we compare it to the other channels that we have in Skyscanner. And what we wanted to see in the beginning is whether it would bring higher activation or not than the other channels. Well, it's probably not the highest, but it's still way in the top 3. So have we validated our hypothesis? Yes. So that's on retention. The conclusion is, influencer marketing is not a game of chance. It's a strategic investment in influential content creators to support our bottom line results. Well, that's what I think. You could argue with me if you want, but I doubt that. So yeah, so that's all from me. I'm going to open the session for Q&A. I hope I didn't bore you to tears. And if you have any other questions about how we do things, you could come to me directly. Or if you don't mind, Sophie Harper is here. She's also from Skyscanner. Can you stand up? Just show face. So she's been on the Facebook talking to everybody. And there's also Jen here in the front. So she is with Skyscanner for UK and Ireland. Jen, can you stand up? She got famous for the hashtag Team Jen. So that's the Jen. So yeah, so Michael. And thanks everybody for your attention. In time. Oh. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Oh.
This is our questions. Don't worry,
Okay.
we don't need that.
I had nice photos of me.
How are we going to do questions? Okay, thank you very much, Tika. We've got time for a few questions now, about 15 minutes. So as we said, always, if you've got questions, just stick your hand up. We'll try and come to you. But we've also had a load of questions coming in over the app on the WTM app. So we can start with the top one from Jeff, which is for Tika. I'm going to try and get some specifically to our bloggers as well. But just very quickly for Tika is, how do you measure ROI and how does it compare to other channels? Is that something you just covered there, or?
Yeah, it's quite tricky because there's no one algorithm to actually calculate ROI with influencers, because there's different type of campaigns, so different types of measurement. But what you could do is actually have a benchmark and sort of benchmark it with other campaigns that you have in terms of success metrics. So whether it's other social channels like social media, if you do like paid ads on social, and you sort of see what the success metric is there, and then you sort of compare it to what you do with influencers.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. Karen Warren's asked, and this is a question that I think a lot of bloggers need to have a really good think about. So it's, if you work with a brand that doesn't collect success metrics, as a lot of them don't, how can you as a blogger measure the success of a campaign, I guess, to then build media packs with afterwards? So I guess for Lucy and Emily, if you could just give us a very quick answer and some tips there.
I think it's really difficult. So for me, working with Skyscanner has been much easier because I could measure it more easily. But I always do a sort of report after I finish a campaign with all the metrics I can find as a blogger and what I saw as a success, whether I receive emails or comments or people that booked a hostel that I promoted or whatever I can find to try to see if it was a success or not.
And I think if you're not supplied with your own hashtag, you can create your own. And then you can always find your posts again, and then you can measure interaction retrospectively. I think we found useful, certainly.
Cool, thanks. I also think, just from a point of view of people who have organised this sorts of campaigns quite a lot, actually speaking to the brand in advance, making sure they are measuring, and if not, giving them some tips, look at the traffic that's coming through, check the purchase funnel, and all that sort of stuff is always worth it as well. So from an anonymous question, what would you suggest, or how would you suggest you increase your engagement of your followers with your posts? So this is a bit more of a generic blogging question again.
I think at the beginning, when you're sort of trying to find your niche, your focus, it's a bit of trial and error. But once you work out what your followers and fans like, give it to them. It might mean that you don't always get to write things or present them in a way that you would think, oh, actually, I'd really like to do that. You think, oh, I've got to tweak it because it's something that they've got to see and they've got to want to interact with. Whether that's a photo or, we started off doing an awful lot of street photography, and that's a post that we're getting put it on Facebook, and not everybody was into that. So we had to change and very much sort of, change elements of photography to give them stuff we loved as well, but stuff that other people like too.
Yeah, just try and do what you see they like. So you can try with a picture, with videos. It depends what is your audience. Also ask them questions. Ask them directly what they like, and you can build from there.
Okay, great. A question that's come up, which was touched on at the start of your talk, Tika, which was about talking about how people come to you with the numbers at the start of the media pack, and it's actually something I was wondering when I was there as well. So this person has asked, what are the key metrics you look for? So they mentioned clout. I very much doubt it's clout nowadays, but also domain authority, which is what we always look for. But there's also unique views, social media followings, all this. Is there one specific one you like people to lead with when they come and talk to you?
Well, there's one thing that I keep on telling bloggers, I advise them to actually do is to give us a link of a particular content piece that you've done for a partner before, and so that we could look into it and understand the things that you've created for a different brand and see from there. So you could put stats from your previous collaborations with other brands, and that makes it a lot more tangible than giving us like, here's a screenshot of my Google Analytics data, which sometimes even the bloggers don't even understand how to read it, or like give us like a whole like, oh yeah, here I've got 100,000 people following me on Twitter, but what does that mean? If you could actually give like a precise, like, this is how influential I am, because here's three examples, three of the best examples of my social posts. I did this, and it just went crazy, and or I did this other thing, and this is what happened. People were talking about, and give examples that are relevant to the brand that you want to work with. So if it's a travel brand, then give an example of something that you've done in terms of travel, or you've done previously with another travel-related brand. I think that is, examples are a lot more valuable than just numbers on a sheet. So that's what I think.
And Emily and Lucy, so on your media packs that you send out, what is it you lead with? What's the first kind of point you want to show? Because I know a lot of people can say numbers are irrelevant. I say that a lot of the time as well, but also people do like to see them. So what would you two say is the number one to lead with?
I put the numbers, but it wouldn't be my first thing. I actually talk about my community that is really engaged, so that's what I will put at the forefront.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are in there. We have, as of this week, it's going to be a case study from a previous campaign that we've done with Brent Spread, and as much as we can do with regards to analytics, there was no tracking or anything, just to show the results, you know, the reach of the social media, the number of times the post was seen, shared, that sort of stuff. So that data is in there, in addition to the traditional page views or social media followers as well.
We have a question from the audience just on the right at the front here. If we can get a microphone down there. While we're doing that, we just ask very quickly, one for you, Tika. What's the best measurement tool for a brand to start with if you don't have the resources to build your own?
Google URL Builder. It's out there. If you want to track click-through rates and all that stuff, that's something you could use. You could even create Google events on Google Analytics, which is quite easy and free. In terms of social media, I guess there's like tweet reach and all that stuff that you could sort of use for free for the first 7 days. So if you're disciplined, you could keep on using it every 7 days. Just keep on checking it before you actually have to pay. There's tons of free stuff out there, but you know, we're just so used to using everything we have internally that makes it quite easy.
Yeah. I think also one of the things to kind of point out there is it massively depends on what the targets of your campaign are. When people are looking at SEO, then you want to be looking at the links and domain authority. If it's awareness, then probably hashtag sharing. So it's always good to kind of have a different look per campaign that you're running. So,
sorry, good content so far. Lee Tunnyware from Westport Venture Park. Do you do any split testing, A/B split testing, or do you do, obviously you do link tracking, but do you do two sorts of content up to see which your audience would engage with best or not?
Yeah, so we follow the whole lean approach at Skyscanner. We're very lean. We A/B test everything, so we don't just go with like one particular type of content piece for one objective. We try and do quite a bit of variation. So whether we change the angle a little bit, or there's always something that you can tweak to sort of see what works better than the other. Or is it like the format? Like if you want to do app installs, is it best to do something educational? Is it best to incentivize people through a competition? In the end, all you want to see is like how many installs there are, and then you can sort of compare it to the cost that you've sort of put into different types of campaigns, and then for the same goal. And then from there, then the other teams can pick it up and learn from it and just use it in different markets.
Do you find that sometimes the data is misinterpreted, whereby that when you go to engage back with what you've learned, that you've missed the ball completely?
Yeah, there's always the whole, causation and correlation. So sometimes you really have to look at the context, and you have to really look at not just internal, but like all the external factors as well, because there might be other things out there that has given an impact to the results of the campaign. So you got to be really objective.
Sorry.
Can we be quite quick, because we've got 3 minutes to get through a bunch more.
I think with it all, because from our side of it, obviously you people have got it sus, but there's a lot to learn. So what would be the best takeaways from what the three of you have learned?
What would be the best way to learn?
The best takeaways.
Oh, the best takeaways. Always implement trackings, and always measure things, and always analyze your data after a campaign. Don't just leave it because it's done and then it's over and okay, bye, here's your paycheck, and that's done. But always review it with the person that you work with.
Yep. Okay, a couple of questions here that I think we have to get through. Tika, this can be a one-worder, so very fast. Without giving away any actual figures, did the campaign that you talked about in your presentation raise the revenue you hoped? I know it's still going on, so does it look like it's going to
Indonesian
have
trip
worked?
that we don't know yet because we're measuring things so what we're going to do is like a measurement of a 3-month basis and a 6-month basis, and we're going to start measuring it from, when was it that you started the links? The 31st of October. So yeah, so we're going to see 3 months' time.
Okay. We do get a lot of questions about charging, so and money, but that's a talk for a whole other time. But with influence charging so much these days, do you guys feel that this market is becoming a bubble?
Well, we've realized that there's like a lot of numbers out there, and sometimes you don't really know why people give those numbers to you. So we're trying to move away slowly but surely, and we're going towards a more performance-based kind of approach, so that it's based on how good you perform that we will then increase the fees, because I think it makes most sense that way.
Yep. Lucy and Emily?
Yeah, I don't know. I calculated my rate on the time I spend on a campaign, and also on my blog, my numbers and my experience, I guess.
So.
Yeah. I mean, from our point of view, from setting up these campaigns through Traverse for people, one thing that we see quite a lot is that bloggers coming to us or influencers saying, this is what I get charged. And I think it's very important to remember that just because one brand may have paid you that, it's not necessarily what you're going to get from every campaign. So don't look at that. And also, just I could go on for days and days about this, but I'll say, like, don't go on every campaign based on how much they're paying, because you miss out on some amazing experiences, and your blog's going to lose all the credibility and what makes it fantastic if you just start doing whoever pays the most. So I would, I don't personally think that the market's becoming a bubble at all. I see new people coming all the time. Just look at World Travel Market this year and how many people are here for the first time. So we've got time for maybe one or two more from the audience. This lady at the front here, 4 rows back in the pink, has had her hand up a few times. So can we get a microphone there? Front here, thank you.
Hi, is SEO part of your strategy? And if so, did you get any do-follow links? And also for the bloggers, do you support the SEO activity? And if so, how do you do that? If you do that?
Okay, good question. So SEO is very crucial. It's the first thing that we did at Skyscanner. That's the fundamental of the business, why it's so big now. It's because of our strength in SEO. So with influencers, we also, it's also part of SEO. Like I said in the beginning, that Google has this two-sided, so their algorithm has this two-sided network. So it's not all about everything you do in terms of keywords and all these link buildings and all that stuff. So yeah, it would be great for people to link back to Skyscanner, but if it's a paid content that we're working with people, we do want bloggers to actually use a tracking. If it's tracked, then Google will not index it. If they don't use a particular tracking, they just want to refer to the brand, then we suggest that, but it's paid, then we suggest that they put a no follow. So that's from the link side of things. On the other hand, it's like working with people, even though the links it doesn't get indexed by Google, but you still get traffic coming, so referred by the influencers, coming to Skyscanner. And the fact that if these people coming from the influencer site stay on the brand's website and go through different pages, or actually go to the purchase funnel or something, that gives extra authority towards the brand's website. So that's also one thing that could improve your SEO.
Okay. And there was a question, I think, about whether you use do-follow links on your post and what your SEO view is for the two bloggers.
What was the question, sorry?
Yeah.
I'm going to try and remember. It was about 6 parts. Do you use no-follow links when you post? That's not the exact question, but it's the part I remember of it.
Yes, I do. Yes, sometimes not follow, sometimes follow. Yeah.
Okay.
Mixture.
As I think, I mean, I don't know if this is the same for you, but with a lot of blogs, I always say it's campaign by campaign. Different answers for every single campaign you work on, and you do want to make sure you're doing that really, so you can personalize what you do as much to the brand. Right, I think we have time for one more question. There's a lady about 8 rows back on the right. Make sure it's a good one.
Yes, I was wondering if we had access to your slides that you provided, because it kind of went pretty fast.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Michael, later on, we're going to have it distributed.
Yeah, we're going to email everybody who's here. We're going to put all the slides from all 6 of our sessions online. I think we can actually do one more because that wasn't the longest one to answer. I'll let the person with the microphone pick someone. Choose anyone you want. Thank you.
Hello. Question for travel bloggers. Does it often happen that you reject working with some particular brands because you don't like them, or does it happen often? And how do you? What are your metrics for evaluating a brand?
Yes, do reject working with people. Often it's because of it's either just simply not aligned with our brand, or expectations are too high, particularly in unpaid campaigns. I think sometimes expectations are unrealistic, or the number of blog posts or amount of social media coverage, then that's something that we personally would reject campaigns for. What was the other question?
How do you decide which brands? Well, that's, yeah.
The metrics we use to decide how to... Yeah, of course, money does make a difference, but that's not... If they're proposing something that is interesting or would be beneficial to our readers, then we will often opt to do it even if there's no budget at all.
Yeah, I guess I don't use metrics, but I reject a lot of proposals because they have nothing to do with my audience. And yeah, most of the proposal I reject actually, because I prefer to work with brands that I already know, that I know can fit with my audience, and that we can work well together. And I like to work in the long term as well, so I don't want to work with hundreds of brands. I just want to work with a selected few that correspond to me and to my readers.
Okay, thank you very much. Just before we wrap up, this is something I've been saying at the end of every talk, so sorry, a bit of a shameless plug, and maybe some of you have heard this 4 times, but with Traverse, we're running a huge blogger festival conference in London next April. We're going to have loads of talks like this with some fantastic speakers. Hopefully the 3 of you will be back. Do come and ask me if you want any questions about that. We just announced this the other day, so you can go on our website, get some super cheap tickets for it. There'll be about 50 or so sessions, loads of things going on for that. So we'll see that. And Tika's got one more point to make.
I had something. So we're working on this new project that's going to launch in mid-December. So there's going to be a lot of learnings from how we do things and case studies and stuff like that. So if you want us to sort of email you the link to that project that's going to come up soon, please do give me your name cards, and then we could put it, we could email it to you eventually in mid-December. So yeah, that's all for me. Thank you, guys.
What I'll just add, sorry, just quickly, is that if you do want to speak to any of the 4 of us, because we've overrun this session, we're going to have to do this outside because there's going to be another talk that needs to come up. So please do come up to us and have a chat, but we can do that when we get outside. And if any of you need any more information about anything we're doing with Traverse, you can pick it up from my colleague Paul, who's got some flyers and cards. Thank you so much, and thanks to the 3 speakers, and we'll speak to you all soon.